Shabbat Shalom. You may be seated. It's a pleasure to join you once again. Ele HaMishpatim, we translate as, these are the judgments. These are the rules. But any Hebrew speaker will tell you what is a mishpat or mishpatim. These are sentences. These are the narratives of our lives. And you know, a judge at the end, he or she gives a sentence. But we always say mishpatim in the plural, either asot mishpat or ele hamishpatim. And so I want to go big picture about how we both think about justices and displays of justice. And I want to do it in the context of a prophet very dear to me, named after me. I'm kidding. Micah. My mom was in Yom Kippur. She was pregnant with me, and it was Yom Kippur, and Micah was at the end, and she says, I like this sentence. She didn't know the Hebrew at the time, but, what does God want from you? What's good for you? What's good? Not just what does God require, which is asot mishpat, actions of justice, avat chesed, with a great love of kindness, v'lechet tznuah, Im Elohecha. And it's always translated as walk humbly before God. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I spent a lot, I'd say my whole life, thinking about how to be a good guy. Not just a nice guy, but a good guy. And I think Micah has so much to share, so forgive me if today I'm not going to go into the intricacies. If there is a tunnel, what displays you must do in order to find that. I'm going to go big picture here. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you some Torah. Micah tells you, you must enforce rights. You must love generously. And you must do this at a pace that is measured. And this is how God can be with you. Micah makes it sound so easy. Look, if 7th century wagons, carts could have bumper stickers, for sure, this would be like one of the first ones. The 3 values it means, this is what it means to have a good life. I used to see these 3 things like a checklist. Literally, I would wake up and I'd think, okay, I got to do this. I got to do something just. I've got to be a nice guy. And then kind of lower myself when I was a little, feeling proud. So, for example, I would see someone dump a trash on the road. I'd say, pick up your trash. And if he didn't, I'd feel a little humbled, so that was check 2. And then I would throw it away and smile and not, say something bad to the guy who left the trash on the check, 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 day done, go home, Netflix. Not chill, I was like 10. So, it was a good day. And yet, I don't think Micah, in this kind of phrase, meaning these are 3 bullet points, is really what a good life is at all. These are not sequential. They're consequential. You must do these things simultaneously to live a just and good life. So he asks, what is the good life before what God demands? He is separating his words from prophetic doom. Look, there's plenty of prophetic doom in Micah and many of the prophets, but that's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about each of us, trying to crystallize the essential nature of the good life. So, you must see each of these elements, and we should see them each separately before we try to weave them together. Micah demands asot mishpat, actions, oseh, asot, plural, actions that are plain, fair, plain being P-L-A-N-E, that are measured, that are equal and balanced. It's very different than an action of righteousness. Because justice isn't an idea. It's not merely a principle to be good. It's a virtue, maybe, but it's not a virtue if it's not expressed in some sort of action. They must be tangible. It must be a word-made deed and multiple deeds. So you must be not just praying with your words, you have to be praying with your feet, and not just marching with your feet, but with your hands that are demonstrable and quantifiable. So, look, the baseline, it's something not to be a bad person. It's a negative liberty. I haven't done anything wrong. The right not to do or not to be is only half of freedom. It's not sufficient for a good life. It's just not a bad life. And I've felt this way many times in my life where I say, at least I wasn't. And I never feel good. I'll just speak for myself. I never feel good about that halfway covenant. At least I didn't. Let's just take hashtag #MeToo. I think about it every day of my life, scouring myself as to where I may have erred. And I say, oi, at least I'm not him. At least I'm not him. Oh my gosh, he led the Humane Society, for gosh sakes. Not me. But that is not enough. That's not even living justly to be able to berate others who are worse than you. It is literally the lowest common denominator. And we feel this insufficiency, or at least I should say for myself. I feel this insufficiency as I'm scrolling through my posts. And there's this one new face in the last couple of months. It's this burnt orange. I'm not talking about anything other than this emoji of a burnt orange horror, right? Face. Do you know anybody Facebook like, I can't personify, but it's, I'm outraged emoji. Next to like 3 tear faces, 2 smirkies, and 1 kind of like confused. I don't understand emojis in general. But it's like outrageous and adorable all at the same time. It really reeks of thinness. So to speak your mind, to speak truth to power is good. It is the beginning of sharing our rage and frustration and desire for justice. So if we pray for change and if we hope for this better world, and then we go to brunch as we're scrolling through our outrageous, the prayer, there's no taste to it. There's no actionable item. And it's slightly more active, but I would suggest it's just an echo of what the community echo chamber is doing, and that is discourse. But even worse, it can be alienating for others that can't enter this dialogue. It is literally a single dot rather than a pathways towards justice. So, obviously, friends, I feel we must do more than just speak our minds. We must define our ethics not only by rhetoric, but by rhetoric followed by our deeds. I want to give you an example of what happened at TVT a few weeks ago. I teach at Tarbut V'Torah. It's a community day school here in Orange County. Yeah, okay, you're familiar with it. So the soccer game was, I can walk around, right, because I got the ear thing. So, okay, 2 weeks ago, there's a soccer game, and we're playing some other school that, let's just say, is not a Jewish day school. And the kids were on the soccer field, and one kid, and this really shocked me, although it shouldn't, because the Anti-Defamation League has told us in the last year there has been a 67% rise in anti-Semitic actions, either language or by actual physical actions. And so on this soccer field, it's a normal, they're roughing and they're getting engaged. One child during the game, called him an anti-Semitic slur, a slur I haven't heard since like the 1940s, and I was not even born then, which is, it's a word with a K and it sounds like kite, but I'm not going to say it because they were in a shul. And so I was stunned. But what more shocked me was the actions and reactions of the kids. The coach said, play it on the field, you'll crush them. The boy to me said, you know what, I didn't just leave it on the field, slide tackle, I got my justice out. He knew how angry I was. I left the justice on the field and it ended there. No, it did not. Because further, there was a retort by one of our players. And let's just say the school was from not the same kind of luxury that I believe we have in Orange County. And he said something not nice. When they went low, he went lower. And he said, don't worry. I can't even say, it's not nice. It's not nice. He just went lower. And they won. So they thought this was done. The next day, another kid from crew was hearing other friends talk about this game because it had, like gossip, like the pillow and the feathers that spread, it had spread, the Jews had won, and the response was, this is hard, we're gonna kill the, not TVT, the Jews. And there I stopped. And there I was shocked. And I went to the head of our school, I went to the principal of the school, I went to the head of athletics, I went to the head of the coach, I called CIF, and in fact, there is an entire protocol for racial slurs on the field. And you know what it is? It's an injury timeout. Right? Interesting. It's an injury. You were injured on the field. You were slurred. And at that moment, you call an injury timeout. You tell your coach, he called me this. The coach goes to the ref. Now, whether the refs are going to be objective and fair here to try to do justice, then that ref goes to the coach, confirms it. If it's confirmed, it's not just the player. And this is so powerful. The entire school goes through a diversity training program operated by CIF and protocol. Now that is an action of justice. And I gave a sermon. When they go low, you go high. Whether they heard me or not is another story. It's really tough to know what's actually trickling through with teenagers. But in this moment, and I did it with love. Was I upset? I was very upset. And I could have said, that's not nice. That's no way to be. But I thought, and I really felt, and I believe, it's not just our role to give words to this. This is injury. These are actions, and we must respond with actions of justice. And so, my friends, on that next Friday, I stood on the field and watched as these two teams played together, and no slurs were made. Don't I sound like a schmo right now? A little bit? A little Dudley Do-Right? A little bit. A little bit. Felt a little good, but now I feel a little jerky. Which is why the second one is so key. Ahavat chesed. Do not do justice in anger. It only reinforces injustice. It is so essential. The ahavat chesed is not and sequentially. It is therefore with. I would say that is a vav, consequential wow. You must administer justice through loving kindness. I love these kids. In fact, I love the other team's kids too. They're kids. And if we can say our words of justice with love, it resonates differently. Look, I talked to the kid who did do that counter slur, and he thought he was really funny. And his 5 friends who were laughing, you know, the snicker that's really a base snicker. And I said, come on, guys, we're bigger than that. I love you. Now, your school teacher telling you he loves you is not usually protocol, but I love these guys, and I love being kind. And there are ways that we can show our children not just justice, but through loving kindness. And so, Ahavat Chesed for Micah is a love of this kindness. To actually love doing it in a sense of kind. This is not vengeance, and it's much harder than it seems. Because doing justice work is really hard. And if you're just inoffensive, you're nonviolent by your own stature. You don't want to offend. I just want to be nice. You don't know how to get involved. And as we have seen, justice work can be shrill And sometimes it's necessary to shake the foundations when the world is unjust. And we hear the sirens of doom, and we must disrupt inoffensive. We must sometimes alienate, polarize. And sometimes we've got to wake even the woke to their extent of their understanding of the nature of humanity rather than their narrow and just and righteous causes. So yes, at worst we are converting the converted. And then people easily, while you hear a shrill cry that is not about me, I can put on my Bose headphones, I can cancel it out, and I can go back to my own righteous little circle. And then we really are an alienated and distant society. So Micah says you must do these actions of justice with loving kindness, and loving kindness sometimes is hearing things that you don't like to hear, is to be uncomfortable and not to enrage. Give the opportunity for people to dismiss your righteous cause. Now, I think we're clearly in agreement that not formally Dr., horrible, evil Dr. former Nasser, is an evil man. And his sentencings, and I want to say it in plural, he deserves 1,000 lifetimes of punishment. But you remember in the moment when one of these fathers justifiably, I could feel that rage, that he ran up and tried to break the man's arm? Okay, there was a part of me that said, yeah, get him! But that is not justice. And to take that rage and to convert it not to love necessarily this evil individual, but to turn on the 256 wounded women. Now we're girls and now women. To turn to all those in our lives that need our love and compassion in response to our anger. This is asot mishpat ve'avat chesed simultaneously. And that is a loving and kind way to live. And now again, I feel this is my problem, by the way, I'm just going to take a little time out. I feel self-righteous and I feel alienating. The more self-righteous I get and prophetic, this is why I don't give these you're giving me an opportunity to give a, barn raiser, and I'm not feeling so myself. And yet, I do believe Micah, and this is why the third component is the most important perhaps. Lechet tzne'ah im Elohecha. Because the more righteous I feel, the more justified I feel, the prouder I feel. Oh my God, I'm God's gift, man. I mean, that's what my mom said. So I used to say, Micah, love the name. Well, I fulfilled 2 out of 3, and that's not so bad. Because I do justice and I love kindness, but I sure am not humble. Because I do justice and I love kindness. And it's really sad. And this was a big growing opportunity for me, is to be humbled. And frankly, life humbled me. More than my consequences, it was my reality. And this humbling is very important, to hear the words of Micah. Lechet tzne'ah is to take a pace of humility. Because when we find ourselves self-righteous and we are kind, it is affectious. It's viral. It really is a passionate kind. Yes, I want part of that. But then immediately that swirl gets more narrow and more narrow as we find ourselves more righteous and kind and loving. It's a kumbaya of our own individual circle. And that's not ultimately what's good for humanity. And that's also not what God requires of you, to search out those like you and to be only kind and righteous within your own circle. Lechet tzne'ah slows us down. It says, slow your roll. Are you listening to reactions? Are you creating opportunities? I love the Women's March, 2nd annual, some of the best hashtags I've seen in years. Well, there have been years of hashtags. But if that march, it felt isolating, alienating. Look, my wife's not with me. I would have gone for her. My kids were like, what do you mean? We're 3 guys. What are we doing at the Women's March? And frankly, there wasn't really this great space for men. And I could say even more, there sometimes is limiting space. Now, 20,000 women joining Emily's list, those are asot mishpat, to become congressional leaders and politicians, to make action. That is slowing your roll. This is a long haul. It's not going to be solved quickly. And this is why Micah is asking all three simultaneously. Do actions of justice. Be kind in your administering of that action. And finally, slow your roll so other people can join along. Can you imagine if Micah had said, what does he require of you? Just love kindness and be humble. You know where heaven would be is Hawaii. I think frankly, I hate Hawaii. I think the prophets would hate Hawaii. It's just calm and it's mellow. Chaka bra. That is not what it means to live the good life for us. It is truly this trifold cord that will not quickly be broken. And so to be humble in your pace, to not speedily fulfill justice, but take the time necessary to be inclusive, is bold. It is actually to risk your position and stature, right? Because if you're going slower, people want you to go faster. You're right. You're just, and you're nice. Do it. Just do it. No, don't just do it. Slow down. See the mistakes that you're making along the way. Learn from yourself. And so, I pray we can do just acts by visiting the sick with love, comforting those with loss with love, correspondence even with isolated over time. If you've ever done letter writing with someone in prison over a lifetime, it's a long haul. Slow your roll. Because one letter of righteous and kindness to say, I'm here to be your best friend, and then drop off 2 weeks later, that's not kind or righteous. So if we can find this loving action, that intensity, that slower viral opportunity to live Micah's words, we can truly be a healthy, living, good community. And Tznei Alechet is a prayer for humanity. And I believe this tradition, this balance of what we know and what we want to change in that appropriate conservative movement rhetoric is ideally what we're trying to do here. Because we know we can be good. We know it is the good life. Eile HaMishpatim. And I want to say in conclusion, I'll bring you back to the Parsha. Why does it finish on Lo Tevashal Gidi B'Chalev Imo? We're kosher. 15 minutes, Amy? Chazanit? Yeah, we're good? Okay. Lo Tevashal Gidi B'Chalev Imo. After all of these just laws, right? And don't see the calf in its mother's milk. Okay. It's like, be a nice guy, be a mensch, do that, and don't eat Cheetos. Okay. Huh? Why? What is it's not about kashrut. Even though Unclus early in the first century says, Lo achle de kalba ima, don't eat this. It doesn't say don't eat it. What is seething, boiling, cooking? It's actually boiling, making this concoction of a young calf in its own mother's nurturing milk. We actually have evidence of this in archaeology. We found Ugaritic tablets. What would they do? They would pour this concoction on their fields in ritual, as if to say, I want to speed the process. So they prayed to their gods with this concoction, and they poured it over their fields. It's Monsanto, 2,000 years ago, gone really awry. You want catalyst, you want it to go fast. You know what Judaism says? You got to go organic. You got to slow it down. It's going to take time. That's lo tevashel gidi b'chalev imo. This is why, in fact, someone said, I don't know why I keep kosher necessarily. I keep kosher because it slows my roll. It tells me to think. It gives me the opportunity to consider what I am feeding myself and what fuel gives me to do these beautiful acts and do them with kindness. So, Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for the great opportunity to preach today. And I wish you well.